Hi to everybody except for people who say educate yourself. Andrew, and this is Gayties Toys. On this edition of MIA 80s Ladies, where we look at all the ladies from cartoons that never actually got action figures, we're looking actually into the 90s this time, which is sometimes a bit of a blind spot, and this is certainly one of those occasions. So it's been a bit of an education. It's certainly a franchise that I would recognize, but had no real attachment to. But the more I learn, the more I kind of dig it, actually. So, with all that said, let's just get right into SWAT Kats, Radical Squadrons, Mange, and some others. SWAT Kats was a two-season cartoon that ran from pretty much, September 1993 up until the end of 1994. It really was, another one of those, anthropomorphic animal shows where they, fight crime, have a girl Friday, have a certain snack they like. The real formula-breaking, thing here was that there was only two of them, so that's something. Created by brothers Christian and Yvonne Tremblay and produced by Hanna-Barbera, SWAT Kats took place in what's called Metallikat City, which is essentially just a metropolis of cat people, all with sort of almost like Cowboy of Mumisa punny names. Essentially, it focuses on two brothers, again, who were kind of framed for malpractice while serving under the local police force, the Enforcers, the highly militarized, almost fascistic police force, I might add. When the brothers Razor and T-Bone are almost sort of disgraced into working for the Enforcer junkyard, they do sort of assemble, among others, a fleet of vehicles, including the Turbo Cat, which is sort of their signature jet and really kind of their main mode of transportation. And it could possibly be a great toy. As with so many cartoons of the 80s and the 90s and beyond, of course, there was a toy line, and this one was done by Remco, which was famous for, Universal Monsters, Crystar. I mean, I was really quite surprised to see that they were even in business at this time. They would be swallowed up, not by Hasbro, but by Jakks Pacific not long after this. The figures in question were just a very brief blink and you miss it series of four characters. Of course, two villains and our two main cat heroes. And since we're here, that means there's no ladies. But beyond just that, atrocity in my mind, they apparently were bad. I mean, fans of SWAT Kats, there's no love lost for this toy line. Apparently it was quite crappy, and of course, since it's quite rare and expensive on the aftermarket. So all around bit of a bust. However, there was at least a proposed wave 2 with some photos kind of leaking out there, and among them were popular and recurring rogues, the Metallikats, including Molly Mange and her husband Mac. Mac and Molly Mange had a bit of a dark story for a kids cartoon. They were essentially mobsters, a little married mobster family who basically were trying to escape from Alcatraz, more cat puns, and drowned, because that's cute in a kid's show. However, their, consciousness were essentially built into metal bodies, and they, were very kind of sleek, shiny metal cats now. Sometimes they would still sort of dress as gangsters, but they certainly just, kept that crusade going. The two of them were proposed and prototyped for the Remco line, and that would have made Molly the lone female character in this line had it succeeded. That said, there's a few others that certainly were due. The brothers aside, one of the real stars of the series, one of the real breakouts, was Callie Briggs, the deputy mayor of the Cat City, essentially. So her deal was that, the actual mayor was too busy golfing, which, relatable. So she was really truly the power, behind the mayor. She was the one who really got things done, who was very passionate about her city. And as such, she sort of had a bit of a more moral code than a lot of the other sort of corrupt enforcers and politicians. So she was very eager and willing to work with the SWAT Kats. She was a very fun character, very great design, and unfortunately, we've talked about this a great deal, where any kind of character with a dress doesn't necessarily make a great action figure. You either have to make really awkward cuts in the dress or make them, essentially a pylon with arms, and that really sort of takes the action out of action figure. Nevertheless, she is a fan favorite, and I think a sort of favorite of, let's say, the furry community. I while doing research, of course, I stumbled upon DeviantArt, and I'm not going to show that on this good Christian channel. However, if you'd like to go take a look, maybe sort of Consider our sponsor, BetterHelp. Oh, we don't have a sponsor. No one pays me for this. Clearly. Another popular character would come in season 2, and that would be Lieutenant Felina Farrell. She would be the niece of Commander Farrell, who runs the rather crooked enforcers. She was, again, one of my fave kind of gal characters from this time, where she was sort of just like big and burly and, just sort of tough. And granted, the toy line was long done by the time, season 2 came around. But I mean, she really would have been a response to the, putting the action back in action figures. There were several other female characters throughout SWAT Kats. However, I will say there was one called Angora, which, another cat pun, but she was a reporter for the local news. One could argue that she is sort of the April O'Neil stand-in, but I still kind of say, that really much more goes to Callie, in the sense that Callie's sort of the inside woman providing information to our heroes. So, and likewise, much more popular, appeared much more in the series, and someone we'll be talking again about in a minute. Despite Nielsen claiming that it was #1 in syndication, SWAT Kats was sort of almost hobbled by its own parent company, in the sense that Ted Turner himself kind of almost threw it under the bus and claimed that it was too violent, which his comments might have been directed more for the actual adult animation at the time versus SWAT Kats, but SWAT Kats is the one who took the blame. So they did manage to squeak out, let's say, about a season and a half. The last 2 episodes remained, no, 3 remained unreleased or unproduced. So it sort of had this very unfortunate ceremonial end, but very popular, very strong brand. The fans, they might not be legion, but they are very vocal and they're very, passionate about its return. And speaking of that, the kind of hungry fans aside, the creators, the Tremblay brothers themselves, are very much champions of bringing this back. There have been creators who still think there's sort of gas in this tank, and it's really great to see. It's really great to see that they want more. They have more story to tell. They have a real passion for this and continue to want to bring this back. So they did a relaunch, or attempted relaunch, via Kickstarter in 2015, where they tried to raise money for possibly a new series, maybe even a 75-minute film. It did fund, but there's been some, barriers corporately along the way. Despite it sort of probably skewing even younger than it had before, this new series called SWAT Kats Revolution was really kind of passed by your Netflixes, your Amazons, your all the big players in the game. So the timing hasn't quite seemed right for them to bring this back. Nevertheless, as early as even 2025, they're still trying. So there's still hope for an actual resurgence of these. But how about the toys? In this era of bringing back kind of long forgotten or sort of like less successful toy lines from the 80s and 90s, I would have expected maybe Nacelle Toys to have picked this up, given their successes with, sort of Biker Mice from Mars, Cowboys and Ramisa, etc. However, it was actually Mondo who decided to go and pick up this baton. So they announced at New York Comic Con in 2025 that they had plans to do a Mondo, some kind of scale SWAT Kats toy line. Once you see the price tag of these Mondo toys, you might wish that Nacelle had done it. But nevertheless, I mean, if you're a SWAT Kats fan and you're hungry for new toys, I mean, you're in for a treat. These, Mondo does not disappoint in the paint applications, the sculpt, and in this case, Brandon Gash, legendary sculptor and just the chillest person you'll ever meet, has sort of gone ahead and shared basically his concepts of what he intends for this to do. I mean, all pending licensor approval and all that. But I mean, if you're a fan, if you want these toys, you're in good hands. They look great. And very importantly, not only the announcement, but also, amongst these character designs was Callie, who is, finally getting made and sort of very featured prominently in this marketing push for these new toys. As a noob, as a casual, I would be sort of kind of content with just these 3 characters. So we'll see, what happens with that. But I mean, if it is a success, hopefully we will see, Felina, we will see the Metallikats, we will see a more, well-rounded world of this, because there's something there. I mean, I kind of came in here completely ignorant to the plot, the characters, all of it, and what I expected was sort of just your standard vigilante superhero fare, and it kind of turned into like The Wire meets Cats, which odd choice, but I mean, everyone loves cats. And that'll about do it for Molly, for Callie, for all of them. There's certainly something here. I mean, the danger I run when doing this series is that sometimes I discover these franchises late and then get on board late and start buying toys, either new or old. So I think I'm going to pass. I'm good. But I mean, I do have much more of an appreciation for SWAT Kats now. I see why the fans are so fervent and frisky. And, I'm glad they're finally getting their time to shine with Mondo. And I truly do hope this line succeeds. Not for me. I got enough. But with all that, thank you. Thank you for watching, for liking, for subscribing, all those YouTubey things. And I will see you next time on MIA 80s Ladies.